Let it start. Yes, good evening. Welcome to the Westborough Advisory Finance Committee remote edition, January 22nd, 2024, our meeting number 14 of fiscal 2024. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may do so by following the link in the posted agenda. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so for reasons of economic hardship and despite best efforts, we will post on the Advisory Finance Committee website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Additionally, the meeting will be broadcast live in real time via Verizon Channel 28 and Charter Channel 192, or via Westborough TV's online platforms at westboroughTV.org and youtube.com/WestboroughTV. This meeting will be recorded and live streamed by Westborough TV, and we thank them for their support. Good evening. We have several transfers from the AFC Reserve Fund to consider. And I'm seeing if, well, we have at least, let's make sure.
I think we lost Deborah.
We lost. We lost our person, so sandbag for a minute on that. And we don't have the town manager yet. I will tell you that I was able to line up the Affordable Housing Trust to be our guest on Monday, the 29th, next Monday. So they'll be in to, I asked them also, generally we like getting a little bit of an update of what they're up to. They're usually up to some interesting stuff, as well as talk about their article. So we'll be doing that next Monday. Tomorrow night will be the public hearing for the budget public hearing during the select board meeting, and that starts at 7:15. And then finally Thursday we'll have our all-day budget summit, as they call it, and hear from a bunch. So I'm tempted to say, are there, well, we'll see if we get, here's John Steinberg joining us. While we're waiting for people to come in, are there any other liaison reports or topics that people wanted to throw in for airtime? Okay, and if not, Deb has rejoined us. Hopefully she can hear us. Oh, Beth just joined us. All right, people are coming in all over. Deb, can you hear us? I don't hear her.
Hello?
Oh, there you are. Or was that Beth who said that?
I said hello because
oh, hi, Beth. We can hear you.
It says my internet connection.
The internet connection is not so good.
Let me walk across the hall and I'll check on Deb.
Okay, thanks. All right. But Beth left to hopefully come back in again. All right. So John's going to go check on Deb's internet connection, and we will go from there. She did send a document that was somewhat comprehensive of what she was looking for. So I think we're in reasonable shape either way. Oh, John's back. Any luck, John?
You told me you could hear her. If you can't hear her or see her,
Neither.
all right, I'll go get her.
Maybe she needs to be working in the hallways because the connection there seems fantastic.
Hello, Christy.
Hello.
We're dealing with connection issues now. Other than that, we're doing fine. No, Beth, the last time your video sort of froze up for a bit, so I'm not sure. Now you're muted, but.
So I've fallen off twice. Like
Yeah.
my internet connection is unstable.
Okay. Well, as long as you're stable, that's a good thing. Oh, now we have John and Deb in one spot. Okay. All right, so let's kick this
I have
off.
a message that my internet is unstable. So
All right, well, if you're around when we vote, you vote. You aren't?
okay,
You know, we at least have a quorum anyway. Thanks for trying.
okay.
I have these in no particular order, but I guess whatever I have in the agenda first, I'll do. First one, Finance Department. Christy, you want to give a?
Sure. John and I can both speak to what's going on in the finance department. So we continue to have interim treasurer collector. You all had voted to transfer $30,000 for that purpose to our expenses. When Jason left, we actually used some of that $30,000, or we have encumbered some of that $30,000 for having Munis come in. So Munis is our software system. They are providing 2 half days of training so that we can get W-2s and 1099s out as required by law. So we have taken some of that money. I think it's about $2,500 for that. And then we also have a contract with someone that you might know, Leah Talbot. We asked her to just provide some sort of consultative services. So we used about $6,500 to create that contract. In addition to just providing sort of answering questions and things like that, we gave her a few special projects. So she was actually here today working with us on some things. So we're working on that. So we did reduce that $30,000 that we had asked you for the treasurer collector for those 2 things, because we have to get W-2s done. And then we continue to look for interim town accountant services. We have been 1 week now without a town accountant, but John has definitely, done everything that he can do, and we've also benefited from having the town of Grafton send their town accountant over to sit with us a little bit and help us out. So so that's ongoing as well. Tomorrow night on the select board agenda, we'll be asking the select board to approve a job description for a town accountant because we're having such a difficult time finding an interim. We might just move to posting for the permanent position. You probably all know we have a bylaw that says that the finance director is also the town accountant. We have received advice from town council that we can move ahead with hiring that town accountant position. And then that bylaw is also on the town meeting warrant. So assuming that the board approves that, we would post, and then we would likely come back to you again, depending on sort of the timing of all of that, to fund a salary for that town accountant position. But we'll sort of have to figure that out as we move through that process. But in the meantime, we're asking for an additional $10,000 for interim services that we'll be able to use towards our interim treasurer collector. We are interviewing for treasurer collector, just to give an update there. We've we've seen a couple candidates. We have a couple more interviews scheduled. So anyway, and so it would provide for interim treasurer collector services and then potentially interim town accountant services, that $10,000. And we also have advertised for the payroll clerk administrative assistant in the treasurer collector's office. That's being paid for by the existing salary line. So because we have the vacancy in the finance director position. And that we've received a lot of interest in that position, so hope to hold those interviews soon as well.
So big picture, there are obviously, so we don't have, we're one body shy, so there should be extra money in salary and wages in theory that would fall to free cash that we're taking free cash down. Not at all.
No. So we're not one body. We're not really going to be one body shy because we're hiring that payroll position that wasn't budgeted for in fiscal 24.
Oh, okay. At the moment, we're one body.
Yeah.
We're Lee shy.
But the intention.
We boosted John did some amount, but we're not at quite that amount.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just say that I do not anticipate that any of that salary line will fall to free cash because we're going to be hiring that payroll position. We don't know where we would be bringing in a treasurer collector. We don't know how long, it'll take us to fill the town accountant position. So I think it's more likely that if we could quickly fill those positions, we would come back and ask for a reserve fund transfer to get someone started, assuming that we could get them in before town meeting.
Okay. And that begs the question that we might want to consider increasing the reserve fund at the town meeting as well.
Right. So we had talked about replenishing the reserve fund. So I have to add that article to the second version. And we'll do I'll put that on anyway, because of the asks that you have before you tonight.
Yeah. And we need to leave something for snow in case we get a lot more or something, and also other things that are happening. Okay.
Yeah, just don't forget that we're able to deficit spend for snow and ice. So I know that we have historically used, but it's not a snow and ice fund. So it's definitely for exactly what we've been asking for, which is the unforeseen and extraordinary circumstances.
Very good. So the first amount that we're talking about here is $10,000 to be transferred.
John, I don't know if you want to add anything to what I said before they vote.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
No, I think Christy summed it up well. I mean, we should only be so lucky to not have any salary left over because we're able to hire so quickly.
Right. I hear you. Why don't we put a motion in, and then people can ask questions if they have more. So, Gene, are you able to make a motion?
Yep. McMahon, make a motion to transfer $10,000 from the AFC Reserve Fund to finance expense.
Is there a second?
Bradley, second.
Okay. Anybody have questions?
So I want to sort of clarify the intention in terms of hiring, just because I feel like sort of by funding this, we're inadvertently approving the positions that you were asking for at town meeting, right? Because we're hiring the payroll clerk that is a warrant article. So the intention, finance director, accountant, and payroll clerk, as well as the new treasurer collector, right? Is it really 4 positions then that you're hiring for in sort of these finance roles?
So let me just back up. First of all, by approving this, money goes into expenses. So that salary line hasn't changed. So we can't hire anyone with this funding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so this just covers the contracted.
Contracts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I guess I do want to be clear, based on your question. So the budget that you received on December 21st includes funding for 6 months of a town accountant position and 6 months of a payroll benefit position. Today, we adjusted those budgets to be funded for the full year, anticipating hiring those positions in fiscal 24. And so that's what you'll see tomorrow night in my budget presentation.
And so then if you, to John's point, if you get really lucky and you can hire all of these positions tomorrow because you find the perfect candidates all tomorrow, then you would then have to come back and ask for additional salary probably to get through the end of the year. Okay,
Right.
got it.
Or at least get us the town meeting.
Or at least the town meeting, because you could have an article in town
That's
meeting.
true. That's true. Okay.
And just to clarify, Dan, you're really only adding 2 positions. No.
Yep. I was just clarifying the finance director one was still a backfill as well. It was really my question. Yeah. Thank you.
And so I was going to eventually ask you about when the budget was going to get updated. So the answer is stay tuned tomorrow night, and you get to see the full amount. And so our budget book information will get updated at some point then too.
Yeah, so we'll have that for you by Thursday, that we can just distribute pages for your books. But it's going to be, there's a couple of budgets that will be updated, and that's what's happening in the finance department is not typical, but updating the budget after it's been published is very typical. So.
Got it. Excellent. Okay, we have to do this roll call, and I think Beth has disappeared, but Prashant, you're first.
Prashant, yes.
And Andrew.
Yeah, I think it's Bradley, yes.
Clap, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Leslie, yes.
McMahon, yes.
Shafford, yes.
Okay, so how many did we end up with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, because it's on the form here. I have to say how many. All right, so that was 7, 0, 0 with 7 present. Okay, how about legal eagles?
Yep, so we're requesting $80,000 for the legal budget. So we put it on the form that you all got in your email today, I think. We had in November and December, we have 30 that each month has been about $30,000. In addition to attributing it to some of the lawsuits that the town is involved in, there's been a lot of legal work done around the working towards the closing on the community center. So working through different agreements, including the reciprocal easement agreement, and so those are sort of higher than usual legal bills, and so we'd be asking for the $80,000 to get us through so we can pay November and December and then January. And then the February bill won't come until March. So we already have an article on the warrant for an increase to the legal budget.
Any questions?
So I think I just had one question on the whole legal expenses. Is that mostly attributed towards community center legal bill, or is there anything else which is like kind of number 1, number 2, number 3?
Sure. So I don't know that I can put them in order, but sort of some of the high items are the community center and working through that to closing. We have. If you look at the select board's agendas on our executive session, you'll note that there are several pieces of litigation that the town is involved in. And so there's been, a lot of activity in these months related to those. So that's really where those bills are coming from. I mean, and then there's just sort of the typical review of, questions or documents.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And
So
do you anticipate? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to add to that. So we've level funded our budget. We level funded it for this year, even though we were before you last year asking for additional funds. And then we've also level funded it for fiscal 25, just because obviously we're unsure as to, sort of the timing and how these pieces of litigation will play out, but we obviously know that the legal work around the community center will be complete in this fiscal year.
Rod? Rod, sorry.
Yeah, just two questions. What do we have a projected closing date for the community center?
Yeah, so we continue to work towards that March 15th date. That's just the date that we have been working towards since signing the purchase and sale.
Okay. And then the second question I had was what was the original budget and what's the total forecast for this year? If you had to put your magic your 8-ball.
I actually think the previous town manager left me an 8-ball, so I could probably grab it. So the original budget, we budget $132,500. So this will bring us up to 212. Our typical bills are around 15,000. We might get another $30,000 bill in the spring just because of some of the timing of some of the litigation. I don't know.
You know how much you're going to ask for at town meeting yet?
No, I don't know yet.
No. Okay. But it could be a similar number to this, I would think.
Oh, yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Originally we thought about asking for more here, but I do think that the January bill is going to be a little less. So.
But plus, we meet a lot between now and then, so if you need to come back.
Yeah.
It's not like summer vacation where we're gone.
I was just going to look, Rod, to see what we spent last year, because we did come back for money last year too. Looks like last year we spent $252. We could be on track for that again this year.
This is a little off topic, but I know the library and their budget for their project is including legal expenses. Do other departments carry other legal fees beyond this, or does the town do?
Actually, that's not true. So we have the one legal budget. I'm not really aware of, I guess, for the library project. I guess I didn't realize that, but
I think that's
the only other.
Sorry, I think that's the estimated cost because of OPMs and architects' involvement too. I wasn't aware that would cover town costs per se.
I'll have to check. But the only other budget that carries, the school department carries their own legal fees, and then the treasurer collector's office carries, I think, $15,000 for tax title legal work.
Thank you.
Awesome. Gene, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I make a motion to transfer $80,000 from the AFC Reserve Fund to the legal budget.
Bradley, second.
Okay, we have motion and second. Any other questions? Comments? Topics? Okay, Prashant?
Prashant, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Clap, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Leslie, yes.
McMahon, yes.
Shafford, yes.
All right, and that's 700 with 7 present. Okay, next up.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Let's see. I don't know. Would you want to do the handsets maybe next? So I think you gave us a nice document on it. How many handsets are we planning? Does this get us? Because obviously there's leftover money plus this.
So first, thank you for having me tonight. I appreciate it.
in speaking with John Arnold, we initially were going to go with the 800 handsets, as we have done in most recent town meetings. We believe we could reduce it to $600 handsets to try to save a little money for this town meeting. If anything comes up in the warrant that might cause a larger voter turnout, this number would, go up. We would need additional handsets, and I may have to return to the Finance Committee to get funding for that. But we're trying to go conservative and go with the number of 600. We had just less than 300 attendees at March 2023 annual town meeting. So I don't know if you have any questions.
The only question this is still the same service that we've been using all along. We haven't come to any conclusion or thought yet on an alternative.
Correct. So this is OTI, is the handset service we've been using since I believe around 2016. A few years back, we had dropped part of the services so that we could reduce funds from, it was approximately 28,000. We had brought it down at that time. The purchase of handsets is something that's on the table and being looked at. The startup cost for handsets is over $20,000. And the big piece of it is the town clerk's office would be, in conjunction with John Arnold, overseeing the handsets during town meeting. We can't put this onto our IT department. They're already straight out. So there's a lot of consideration that goes into the purchase of handsets. So for now, we're continuing with this OTI through this town meeting, and then we will, going forward, we're still looking at other options for the purchase, or staying with OTI.
Okay.
I'll just chime in. Can I chime in?
Yeah, I was going to ask John if you had any comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to, so pretty much going along with what Deb said, I've had discussions. The moderator and clerk in Southborough are adopting the Meridian system for the first time, and I think it was either the clerk or the moderator. One of them had done a sort of a deep dive comparison of some of the things, and they're going to be experiencing it. And since they're nice and close by, and since I have more time during the day now, I'm hoping after our town meeting to follow through with how their March town meeting goes and to learn more about that. And again, as Deb had said, it'll require some conversations because the maintenance of, sort of just keeping track of handsets, the voting software equipment and transponders that you have to install would need to be handled by someone in town. And so that's a responsibility. We have to factor, what the cost to the town from having people on the staff do it. And the other thing that I wanted to mention that's come up that I'd forgotten about when I talked to Deb is there has been an increasing amount of chatter about the possible demolition of the country club building, and that seems to be attracting attention. And that may mean that, as Deb mentioned, we may want to, at the last minute, ask OTI to bring more handsets. But we're going to monitor that. And as we said, the Deb's request for this evening is for a smaller amount, figuring we would have time to come back for more. If it does look like we're going to get a larger than expected turnout for the March town meeting.
And John and Deb, are we? I mean, an alternative that's no cost. Well, not no cost, very low cost is back to the paper slips. But are we getting feedback from people as to a preference for the electronic voting? And I mean, to me, it seems like it helps speed up town meeting usually, because especially with anything that requires counting. But I'd like to hear a little bit of the feedback you guys get on that, on the value. Really.
We absolutely get feedback from voters that they do want and like the electronic voting. We did have a town meeting, special town meeting, where we did not have the handsets, and the people were upset. So it does make town meeting go faster. But I mean, people do like the electronic voting. So
I've heard similarly. I think people like the fact that it's sort of a secret ballot kind of thing, and people can vote their conscience and not worry about business associates or customers or clients seeing how they're voting. And the speed and the pace of the town meeting. I think once people saw when we had to count the gym for the December library special town meeting and realized how much time that took. People realize that the speed and the efficiency. So it's like many things in town government. People like the speed and the efficiency and the privacy, but people don't like that it costs a bit of money. And so that's why we're continuing to trying to balance the efficiency and the speed, while we study other alternatives and try to figure it out. So.
Sounds good. Would you like to make a motion, Gene? Ron,
Sure.
have your question first, if you want.
Just one quick one, John and Deb. So what was the reason it was under budgeted this year? What caused the overrun?
So the prior town clerk had brought this budget down considerably to $20,000 with the idea that we could possibly go into the electronic handsets. But the startup cost with Meridia was over $23,000. So we didn't have the money from the get-go to support it, number one, and there's just a lot of moving pieces that are going to go into purchasing the handsets. I think it's a big decision, and it's something that John and I are working on. We certainly want to do what's best for the town, what's best for the budget, what's best for the voters, what's best for everybody involved. I don't think it's something we should just jump into. We're putting the research in and we're gathering quotes from different vendors.
And Wendy had come forward in the past looking for more money as well, but she kept the budget low.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, Gene, want to make a motion?
McMahon, I make a motion to transfer $6,898.45 from the AFC Reserve Fund to other professional services.
Second, Blumberg, second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, Prashant, start us off.
Prashant, yes.
Blumberg, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Clap,
Okay.
yes.
Dolan, yes.
Leslie, yes.
McMahon, yes.
Shafford, yes.
Okay, so that is 800 with 8 present. Okay, next up is a transfer for printing and copying. Let's see if it has to do with elections. So again, give us just a quick
Sure.
summary.
So this budget was funded with $8,000. After the printing of the town census and the town street listing, those two printings alone came up to just under $12,000. The projected expense for our town election, which includes our ballots and the coding that goes into our electronic tabulators, is going to be, I got a quote, it's going to come in just under $4,000. Everything has gone up in prices this past year. So that's the shortfall that I come up with. Going forward, our vendor has been LHS. We use them for both the census printing, the street list printing. We use them from our poll pads during elections. It's a vendor that's used by many city and town clerks. But again, I'm a new clerk and I'll be looking at different vendors to see if there's anybody using anything different. If we can get these costs lower, certainly everything's going up, and we'll see what we can do going into the next fiscal year. We have conferences coming up in February and June, and I'll be visiting vendors' tables and see what I can find about alternatives to these prices. But for this year, this is what it cost us for the census and the street listing. And like I said, we still have the town election budgets, the ballots, and the coding for our tabulators.
How often do you print the street listings?
We print them once a year.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Gene?
McMahon, I make a motion to transfer $7,778.92 from the AFC Reserve Fund to printing and copying.
Blumberg, second. Yeah.
Okay, so we have motion and second. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none. Prashant?
Yes.
Blumberg, yes.
Bradley, yes?
Clap, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Leslie, yes.
McMahon, yes.
Shafford, yes.
Okay, so that is 800 with 8 present. Just a quick question for John. Do you want me to put this in the finance mailbox, the signed forms tomorrow? Is that good, or bring them to you? I mean, I'm going to
No,
show up with the
that's
budget.
fine.
That's good.
You can drop them off upstairs. Unless you want to visit me, then you can, of course, stop it.
Well, I think I'm probably not going to get there till the evening in time for the meeting. So I'll
Fair
probably
enough.
airport do that. But
Thank you
okay.
all tonight. Good night.
All right. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much for having me tonight. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey. Okay. All right. So that's it for transfers. As I said in the email, we will be down to about 115,000 remaining in the balance, and so we'll probably look at adding some back in, because you add it in out of free cash, and if you put it back out, it's back to free cash. So I think it makes sense to have that with everything going on. But people will be able to vote for that or not. If there's anything else, I'm trying to keep this meeting somewhat short because we got a busy week.
Quick question.
Yes.
Do we have any progress on just what snow and ice is so far this year?
Yeah, well, Rod and I get a weekly report.
Okay.
And I think that last storm, Rod can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the last storm was on the ilk of $40-something thousand worth, the really big one, the 3-day thing. But it's hard for me to guess where we are because I don't know how much more it's going to snow.
Right.
But we're not at the bottom yet.
Right, and that was conveniently on a
we
weekend.
haven't used much before that.
Right.
Yeah, the only other comment, as Walter said, we get them weekly and they start pretty early just because there's a lot of equipment repairs that get attributed to that fund. So okay. I know the equipment repair versus what they typically or they budgeted, I think is already over, but I'm sure they have a good explanation.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting part of it is that, starting in August, we started getting snow and ice reports where they're, buying parts for the plows and getting everything ready for the winter. And there's quite a bit of that. Also, the contract plowers do get a stipend. So whether or not it snows, you kind of have to give them something each year to get them to commit. So that money is also, basically going to be paid every year. And there is a remarkable, I mean, I'm sure those the plow trucks do tend to take a lot of
wear.
A lot of wear and tear, I would guess. I don't know. But most weeks it's not that exciting of a report, but it was a little interesting at least to see the big storm, and they track how many hours of what types of trucks are used and things like that. So it's
I'll have an update for our next meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Anybody else have any things? If not, we don't have minutes yet, we being the short weekend since our last meeting. And anybody else have anything else they need to talk about? Otherwise, we'll call it a night and, in fact, spend a long day together on Thursday and maybe see some people tomorrow night. I do recommend at least watching tomorrow night if you're not there in person, just because that she's going to cover a lot of detail that she's not going to repeat at our Thursday meeting. So it's worth at least watching the budget presentation on Westborough TV. About a motion to adjourn.
Shafford, motion to adjourn.
Lap second.
Lindbergh, second.
Yeah. All right, we got a motion and second. We still have to do this by roll call. Prashant? No, you're muted. Sorry.
Sorry, Prashant, yes.
Blumberg, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Lap yes.
Dolan, yes.
Leslie, yes.
McMahon, yes.
Shafford, yes.
Shepherd, yes. We are adjourned. Thank you, Westborough TV. See you all later in the week.